Dare I say? Should I say it? Should I say it? I'm gonna go with Detroit. Where's Buffalo? In Buffalo. Actually, maybe some of them are in Cancun by now. Who knows? Oh, this person, Mahomes. Burrow, Mahomes. Allen, Mahomes. Lamar, Mahomes. Like, stop. What's going on, everyone? You're listening to the Antonio Chauran Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Antonio Chauran, and we got another AFC Championship on our hands. Before I get into, obviously, my predictions for AFC and NFC Championship weekend, let's just go over really quickly the games that went on last weekend in the divisional round. The first game I'll start with is the Ravens and Texans. Obviously, I was under the impression that was going to be a closer game, and turned out it was not close at all. I mean, it's 10-10 at halftime, and then reportedly and allegedly, Lamar Jackson gave a pretty inspiring halftime speech, and they come out and they roll, ending in a 34-10 final score. Ravens and Texans. I mean, that was an ass beating. Lamar Jackson had a total of 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing and 2 throwing yards, or 2 passing touchdowns. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, this is arguably, or actually, I don't even think it's arguable. This is the best playoff game of Lamar Jackson's career up to this point, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy he was able to somewhat, get that notion out of the way that he can't perform in the playoffs. Before that, he was 1-3, and here he is now 2-3 in the playoffs, and obviously he's going to be looking to add another win to the win column there this coming weekend. Quite frankly, I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll get to that. There's not really too much left to take away from this game other than, man, that Baltimore defense looks great. It really does. They were hitting on all cylinders, holding this high-powered offense in the Houston Texans, led by C.J. Stroud, to only 10 points. Keeping them to or shutting them out in the entire second half. So there's definitely something to be said about that. Texans, if you're obviously a Texans fan, you're pretty bummed out, but I mean, the future looks bright for you guys. It really does. And I don't really see any other competitor in the AFC South other than really, I guess you could say Jacksonville, maybe the Colts, but they're just so up and down. Obviously, with Shane Steichen, they've been able to turn stuff around. And I understand Anthony Richardson's been out due to injury, so we'll see what happens there. But in terms of a consistent competitor, I obviously think the Jaguars can test to that for sure. Tennessee, they're going to be rebuilding. So yeah, I definitely think though Houston can always be there can always be an argument made for them to be the top dogs in their division for sure. Next up, we have Packers at Niners, and let's be honest, Packers should have won this game. If it wasn't for a horrible interception by Jordan Love to go down, possibly tie it, they would have won this game. I mean, Brock Purdy didn't have a great game. He now look, I'll give him this. He was great when he had to be, and when he led him on that eventual game-winning drive to put him up 24-21, that was the sealer. In retrospect, obviously given the final result that we saw, but at the time, I mean, yeah, he did what he had to do, but I think a lot of people thought Green Bay was going to be able to go down and at least put up 3 and tie the game, maybe going to overtime. So I thought there were parts where the defense played well, but I think, especially with that last interception, that wasn't so much the 49ers making a play. That was more so Green Bay making a mistake, more so Jordan Love making a mistake. So with time, that's going to fix itself. Jordan Love is a young player. He's going to learn from that. This was his first playoff run. And so I think that's something that you have to really take into consideration when you're looking at Jordan Love's overall performance. But, overall, he played great. And when I say great, I'm also taking into consideration just this playoff run, obviously, with against the Cowboys when they freaking rolled them in Dallas. So yeah, obviously finishing 21 of 34, 194 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Not the greatest game, but it was still a good game, a game that they should have won. So that's really what I take away from that because I mean, look, uh, same could be said with the Ravens in terms of their slow start against the Texans. That having that bye week kind of makes guys a little rusty, and that's kind of the saying more so. Um, but again, these are guys both in teams more so the Ravens and the 49ers that are favorites, and everyone thinks that they're going to win. So you kind of take that with a grain of salt in terms of the whole rest versus rust thing because these are guys that are built for the postseason. These are guys that can end up in the Super Bowl. So you look at it from that perspective, and you're like, yeah, I mean, maybe they started off slow, didn't have the best games, but they deserve to be here and deserve to have won those games. Even though the Packers definitely could have had that become a different turnout. The other thing too, I'll say really quickly with the Niners before we move on to the Lions and Bucks game is Debo. Obviously, it's a different game plan, different offense when Debo's out, and he barely played in that game. He played a couple snaps, got knocked out early in the first quarter, and they didn't look the same ever since. Obviously, very Christian McCaffrey reliant. And look, I understand you got guys like George Kittle, who's a beast, Brandon Ayuk, and Chris Conley. Shout out to Chris Conley for on that last drive. Very key. I think it was third down conversion, sideline catch. He used to be a Chief, so shout out to Chris Conley for that. But yeah, Debo being out, it'll be interesting to see how this offense runs without him. I don't know for sure if he's going to be out for the Lions game, but I think it's more likely than not he will not be playing that game. So I guess we'll see. All right, the Lions and Bucks. That was a great game. Lions, I'm super happy for you guys and your fans. I mean, Detroit, talk about a laughing stock of an organization you've had over these past 3 decades. And here you are in the NFC Championship game. You guys have a squad. You have a squad. You really do. And it all starts with Dan Campbell. If there's any guy, if I were a player, like I would love to play for Dan Campbell. I mean, he's a player's coach. Obviously, he's a former player himself, and he knows how to really lead by example, be a leader of men. And that's not a trait that's very common. Even if you played the game, that doesn't necessarily mean that you attain that trait. So the fact that he has that trait on top of his experience in the NFL and things of that nature, I mean, what more could you ask from him? And winning 31-23. Obviously, there was a slight chance at the end for the Bucks to come back. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought as soon as Detroit went up 31-23, that was game. Baker Mayfield throwing a game-sealing interception. It's kind of fitting given some of his mediocre play in his career. But look, I got to give it to Baker, though. This was a resurgence a little bit of his career after this season he had with the Bucks. So you got to give him credit there. I mean, he balled as much as he could, and I'm happy for him. I think he's found a home in Tampa. I hope they re-sign him because I'm looking at all of these other quarterbacks that are possibly on the market, and it's just tough because with some guys you know what you'll get, and with others you kind of are wild cards. And in the draft, I don't know the whole draft situation with Tampa and where they have their picks. But I think Baker has proven that he's a starting quarterback, and with how he's been able to have success with Tampa, I don't see why they don't re-sign him. I gotta say too, I mean, I'm looking at all of these teams, right, that are left: Chiefs, Ravens, Lions, and Niners. All of them have great run games, but personally, it's safe to say that Detroit may have the best running game in terms of having a dynamic run game with two guys that just have two completely different running styles. In my opinion, you have a guy in David Montgomery who is more of that third down back that is just like that hard, gritty, hard nose. Will get you those yard or two to get that first down type of back. And then you have Jahmyr Gibbs, who he runs, and as soon as the ball hits his hands, it's like he's getting shot out of a cannon. Like, I mean, credit to Detroit for getting David Montgomery in free agency um, from the Bears, and obviously drafting Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, they found a lightning in a bottle there with him. So they have that great complementary run game with those two guys. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey with the Niners is the main guy, who is arguably, if not one of the best running back in the entire league. Um, then you have the Ravens. They've always had a great run game, but they've had a few injuries, right? And even with that being the case, they still have guys that can run the ball. Their running back room is deep. So there's something to be said about that, and obviously with the threat of Lamar Jackson. And then you got the Chiefs, right, with Pacheco, who I saw him say in a press conference. I can't remember if it was today or earlier in the week, um, that he read something that said when he runs, it looks like he bites people, which I think is funny, and he thought it was funny too. He's like, that was crazy, um, but it's true. He runs hard. I've never seen anyone run the way that Pacheco does, but I love it. I mean, he runs like he's on a mission, and you love that. And the resurgence of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, he'll have run. I feel like even though his snaps have gone down a little bit, he makes the most of the opportunities when he's out there. And that's what you love to see. I mean, there was one run in the Buffalo game where he went up, he ran for 28 yards and one run. I was like, damn, Clyde, okay. So it's things like that you love to see, given that he was a first round pick for us and didn't necessarily materialize the way that you thought he would, but here he is in his fourth or fifth year. I think this is his last year of his contract, if I remember correctly. Um, so he's playing for his job right now. So I feel like there's a little bit of that really lights a fire under him. But yeah, I'm happy to see Clyde and Pacheco running the way that they are. So that makes me really happy to see that. But in terms of like the best 1-2 punch, I think in the backfield, Lions have that for sure. And last but certainly not least, we have the Chiefs and Bills. Let me say, this game was crazy. Now, I didn't watch it. I actually was out at dinner with Fran, and we went to one of her friend's birthday dinners, and so that was a lot of fun. We went to the sushi spot. I forget what it was called, but it was fire. We get there, it's a big ass boat like of sushi, and it was super super good. So I love seafood, so like sushi or anything like that, that's my jam. So I was following the score along on my phone, and I'm seeing it's like 17-13 at halftime. It's like, damn, okay, all right, well, it's a game. I didn't know if we started with the ball, um, and to see us at halftime, I saw us have the ball. I'm like, all right, bet we're starting with the ball to go out and score. I think in my head, now I didn't say this definitively, but I said to myself, if we win this game, that it's because we scored a touchdown on that opening drive to start the second half. Because I mean, we scored 27 points in this game, and I have a tone in which that's a lot of points for this Chiefs team for this season. That's a lot of points. I think the first time we played the Raiders this season, we scored. We won that game 31-17. That we haven't scored that amount of points since we haven't scored 30 or more since then. And 27 points is the closest we've gotten since that game. So that game was November 26th. And then we actually scored 27 a few weeks later when we played the Patriots, when we beat them in New England 27-17. But since then, we haven't hit 27 points since that game. And that game was December 17th. So we're going a little bit over a month or so where we haven't put up points like that. So I was super happy to see that. I was happy to see us have a good full game of offense, in my opinion. And honestly, it should have been more. Like, if McCall doesn't fumble in the end zone when we get the ball back after that fake punt, which I have no idea why the hell Sean McDermott called that play. That was dumb. And look, obviously, all credit to DeMar Hamlin, but a guy who hasn't played really at all this season, and you put him in a position like that, I did not agree with that, respectfully. But hey, it benefited us, even though at the end of the day we couldn't capitalize on it because we freaking fumbled. That's besides the point, though. The point here is I loved how the offense has looked so far in these playoffs. 26 and 27 points. I mean, this is an offense this season that has not been able to produce at all on the offensive side of the ball. So to be able to see that, our defense looked at times a little vulnerable. I mean, that run game defense is really it's a tough pill to swallow, especially given the fact that you have a team in the Ravens that love to run the ball and a quarterback that knows how to run, like the best running quarterback arguably in the entire league in Lamar Jackson. I mean, we got to get that run defense shored up because if not, I mean, they're going to exploit us there. But being able to shut them down in the second half, only allowing 7 points, I mean, that's huge. And I saw a stat too. After week 14, we have not allowed more than 7 points in a second half. And I have the specific stat right here. So points allowed after since week 14, 6, 7, 3, 0, 6, 0, 7. Said that last 7 being against the Bills. So again, we're great at making halftime adjustments, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and that's huge, especially in the playoffs. So I'm happy with that side, but you know we got to have a full game where we're from start to finish just relentless, and that's what we need. And the last takeaway I'll take away, that was a lot of takeaways. The last thing I'll say about this game before I go into my predictions for this championship weekend is I love the fact that Travis got back into like the swing of things in terms of getting involved and getting touchdowns. Like that was great. Seeing him get 2 touchdowns in this game was huge, and especially I say this with the overall expectations that we have of Travis Kelce. He's had a down year. In a down year, he had almost 1,000 yards. He came like 15 yards short, I think, of getting 1,000 yards this season, which would have been like what, his 7th straight 1,000-yard season. Which I mean, that's already a record. He already has the record, so he just would have been adding on to his own record. So, I mean, he's a down year for his standards, but still a great year. So seeing him get involved like that again was huge, and I was super, super happy to see that. Just saying, I went 4 for 4 this championship, or sorry, in the divisional round. All the winners that I said would win ended up winning, so I'll pat myself on the back for that. But that's besides the point. Here we are, championship weekend. Let's start with the Niners and Lions. Dare I say, should I say it? Should I say it? I'm going to go with Detroit. And this is aside from Debo possibly not playing in this game. I mean, Detroit's rolling. I look, when I'm looking at it from both sides in terms of motivations, the Niners, the last time they were in the Super Bowl, they lost to the Chiefs. They came up super short. And there was this soundbite from George Kittle that said, I will be back. I will be back. And, you know, when you see that in your Niners fan, like it probably gives you chills, right? You're like, yeah, we'll get back. I don't know, man. There's just something about Detroit. Look, on the defensive side of the ball, you think of 2 guys. You think of Branch, and you think of Hutchinson, right? And maybe C.J. Gardner-Johnson with that vet there. But you think of those 2 guys because Branch, I mean, he freaking got that pick 6 in the first game of the season we played against them when it hit off Kadarius Toney's hands. He basically gift wrapped it and handed it off to Branch for 6. But Hutchinson, man, he has been relentless. And I'm looking at this offense. I mean, in terms of the Niners offense, look, they got the best right tackle in the league in Trent Williams. And look, I've named all their offensive weapons, right? With Kittle, with Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, obviously, and Debo when he's healthy, when he's playing. But shoot, I mean, their defense is torchable. Don't get me wrong; they have great corners. They have a great overall defense with Greenlaw and Fred Warner, guys like that, and obviously on the D line with Nick Bosa, and then obviously you have Travarius Ward back there. You guys have a squad. I understand that, but there were points in that game where the Packers were having their way with them on defense, and so, or when the Niners were on defense, while the Packers were on offense, and it gave you cause for pause in some instances. I mean, what offense would you take, Green Bay or Detroit? With Detroit, you got guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I already went over their backfield. Sam Laporta, they have a squad. And so I I can see Detroit winning this game. I really can. And I'm going to pick them. I am. Being able to beat the Bucks, and the week before that, beating the Rams, who, and look, I full transparency, and you heard me say it. I picked the Rams to win that game. Seeing how Jared Goff has performed, he's on a mission, man. Like, he's been disrespected ever since he got kicked out of LA. And even Sean McVay acknowledged that they should have gone around. They should have gone about that in a different way than they did. Completely disrespecting, in a way, Jared Goff to get a guy that you think can get it because you don't think Jared Goff can get you that championship. Yeah, if I was Jared, I'd feel a type of way too. So seeing him come back in the way that he has been incredible. I mean, I think everyone can be a Jared Goff fan seeing that. So all credit to him and to this Detroit team. I'm going to pick Detroit. Now, maybe I'm cutting against the grain here, but man, I can see it. Now, the 49ers can prove that they're the team to beat 100%. But seeing how the Niners played, how Detroit played, yeah, I'm picking Detroit. And I can see it being similar to that Chiefs Bills score, that 27-24. I'm not going to pick that exact score, but I can see Detroit winning this game by like a field goal, or maybe even less. You know what? I want to pick Detroit to win this game here, and I think they're going to win 26-24. I mean, oh, Detroit! This would be crazy if they won. Um, yeah, uh, I'm sticking by my guns. I'm picking Detroit. And last game, well, technically it's not the last game in the schedule. The Chiefs and Ravens actually play the earlier game. Um, I'll just get it out of the way. Obviously, I'm picking the Chiefs here, but hear me out. Something that's been really interesting, an interesting argument, debate, conversation, whatever you want to call it. People are like, would you pick either Mahomes or Lamar? And I think that's such a dumb argument. Now, hear me out. The reason why I think it's a dumb argument is because they're trying to have it pertain to this particular game. Have you not seen the narrative that has been put around Mahomes this season? Now, I'll say this. A lot of the narrative has just been around receivers not being able to catch the ball. And how Patrick Mahomes, to his standards, has had a dip in his performance this season. He's back in the AFC Championship game. As a starter, his second year in the NFL, starting. he has been to the AFC champion. He has gone at least to the AFC championship game 6 times. 6 times. There was a narrative before we even got here, after the regular season ended, that, oh, Mahomes is going to have to go on the road. Let's see if he can do it. Maybe this is the year to get him. Josh Allen's going to win. Buffalo, it could be their year. They're turning it around. Where's Buffalo? In Buffalo. Actually, maybe some of them are in Cancun by now. Who knows? Needless to say, Chiefs are still in it. And look, I've said, I think Baltimore, arguably, is the best team in the NFL right now. But let's have that be the conversation then. Have it be, are you going with the Chiefs or the Ravens? Talking about the team as a totality instead of Lamar or Mahomes. All credit to Lamar. He's been having an amazing season so far. He's going to be the MVP, no question. So he'll be a 2-time MVP. Why is the debate Mahomes or Lamar and not the Ravens or Chiefs? That's been like something I've just been hearing, and I'm like, we're already trying to pick someone to go up against Mahomes? Why? He is in a class by himself. He really is, if you think about it. I mean, when it comes to contemporary quarterbacks, I'm not talking about Tom Brady or guys like, I'm talking about right now. Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, guys like that. It's like there's always trying to be some kind of comparison to Mahomes, and there isn't. The guy has been a starter for 6 seasons. He already has 2 NFL regular season MVPs, 2 Super Bowls, and 2 Super Bowl MVPs. And he may go on and win the Super Bowl again this season. Then he'll have 3 Super Bowls in 6 years as a starter, and he's only 28 years old. He has a 13-3 postseason record. I mean, the guy is unbelievable. And all this talk about the defense of the Ravens, like the number 1 overall defense, Mahomes is 6-0 against top defenses in the NFL each season he has played. He is 6-0. So I don't want to hear that. Correction. He is 6-1. But this record 6-1 is including the playoffs. So regular season 6-0, and the points per game he has scored against these top defenses: 31 points, 322.4 passing yards per game, 15-7 touchdown to interception ratio, and a passer rating of 94.3. Why are we even having a conversation about if Mahomes is going to be able to play against top defenses or not? I just don't understand that. Like he has at least 2 touchdowns at average in each game against these top defenses. And the last time we played Lamar, I think we lost that game 36-35. But in 2018, when we played them, it was that crazy game that went into overtime. We won 27-24, 4th and 9 to Tyreek. You guys remember that game? He had over 400 yards in that game, like 422 yards or something crazy like that. Now, granted, I understand, Tyreek's still on the team. We don't have Tyreek anymore. But my point is, with the season that we've had so far, and it's all about momentum, I understand that. I mean, if we're going to play that card, I mean, Chiefs are on a 4-game winning streak. We won our last 2 games of the regular season, and we've won 2 straight games in the playoffs. So this whole thing about momentum too, and how the Chiefs have been up and down. Hey, right now we've won 4 straight, baby. So again, I understand if we want to do the Ravens against Chiefs, fine. But the whole Lamar against Mahomes, no. Why are we doing that right now? No, again, no discredit to Lamar. I love Lamar. He's had an amazing season right now. And I love the fact that he's kind of given into the haters right now and the critics. but I feel like everyone always wants to try to be like, oh, this person Mahomes, Burrow Mahomes, Allen Mahomes, Lamar Mahomes. Like, stop. I have no doubt that by the time Patrick ends his career, that he will be the next GOAT. Right now it's Tom Brady, but I can see Mahomes getting 5 or 6 Lombardis without a doubt, at least. And with the trajectory that he's on right now, I mean, how can you not think that? I, you got to see it happen. I get it, but I'm just tired of with the season that Mahomes has had. That should show and prove the point to defend him even more so that he's been able to get the team back to this point. Now, look, does he have a top defense right now? Absolutely, and that's been a huge help when the offense hasn't been able to get going. But when you need a guy to make a play, to make a game winning drive, a game winning throw, or run, Mahomes has been able to deliver. Again, and we can't knock Mahomes because he has a good defense, because Brady, those first 3 championships that Brady won, it was because of the defense. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to pick and choose how we want to grade a guy, how we want to, make an argument for one player or the other. We got to be consistent. If we're going to say Brady's a GOAT, yeah, he has 7 Lombardis, cool. But let's not act like Tom Brady was the reason they won all those Super Bowls. He's not. And so, am I saying Mahomes is going to be the reason why he wins X amount of Super Bowls? I'm not saying that, but at the same time, we got to keep the same energy. So, yeah, again, I'm not hating on Lamar at all. I love Lamar, but this kind of goes to a wider conversation about why we keep trying to compare guys to Mahomes when it's clear and it's there's no comparison to be made. So that's all I'll say to that. And that's a really big reason why I'm picking the Chiefs here, is because I trust Mahomes. He has the resume to back it up. With the defense that we've been able to create over these past few seasons with the young guys through the draft, I mean, I love what we have. Willie Gay, I know he was knocked out early in the game against Buffalo. I hope that he's able to come back. Joe Tooney, he's doubtful, one of our guards, and so that's going to be tough. I think Nick Allegretti is going to be filling in for him. So we're going to need to be able to keep up protection, because I mean that pass rush is no joke, and they have the best linebacker, if not one of the best linebacker, in Roquan Smith, on that Ravens defense. So these guys know how to ball, and on the offensive side of the ball, Isaiah Likely, I love that kid. He's a great tight end. And OBJ, and then they got that kid Zay Flowers. I mean, I wish we were able to draft him, but I'm so happy we got Rashee Rice to counterbalance that. So again, I'm not saying that this is going to be an easy game. It's not. But if we're going to do the question, Mahomes or Lamar, Mahomes. It has to be Mahomes. If you want to look at the teams, then okay, then we can have a broader conversation about that. And we can nitpick who we're going to pick and what matchups and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, you don't bet against 15. You don't. And I think that's something that you have to take into consideration there. 13-3 playoff record. 2 of those came from Tom Brady. 1 of those came from Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I mean, we're talking about a difference between 4 Super Bowls and 2, because the current goal right now and Tom Brady got the better of us. But if D4 doesn't line up off sides and we have a competent and put together O-line, I mean, we could be singing a different tune here. But you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do these what ifs or these hypotheticals, because we don't know. But we got to stop disrespecting Mahomes, man. Everyone is like, oh, America's rooting for the Ravens. Everyone wants a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl and blah, blah, blah. Everyone's just hating against the Chiefs, and I'm tired of it, man. It's because you guys just don't like seeing continuous success. And look, I get it, because that was the Patriots for 20 years. So as a Chiefs fan, I'm seeing that side of it now, where no one wants to see the Chiefs win because they're tired of seeing them succeed. And everyone thinks, oh, they have the refs in their pocket and blah, blah, blah. Shut up. I'm tired of that shit. I really am. And the one game Mahomes loses it because of the offsides call on Tony against the Bills, and he goes off on that, and everyone's automatically calling him a crybaby now. Oh, he's just going to cry to the refs again here. Like, no. Mahomes, before that, no one was saying anything like that. Now, I'll admit there'll be times where he kind of gets knocked off or get knocked to the ground, and maybe he's like asking for like a roughing the passer call. Every quarterback does that. So I'm not just going to single out Mahomes there. It does get annoying, I will admit. But hey, if you're calling it for one guy, you better call it to the rest of them. Now, obviously, we know that's not the case because the higher caliber your quarterback is, the more calls will probably get compared to guys that aren't as great. So there's always that little caveat. We understand that. But to pay Mahomes like he's just always going to be crying to the refs is just not true. You know, more likely than not, if you're hating on Mahomes, it's because he beats your team every time we meet up. So I look at it like that because I feel like that's more of the likely scenario as to why you're hating on him more than the latter. So I haven't given a prediction. So obviously, I'm going to be picking the Chiefs here to win this game. And I've thought about how I think it'll go. I think it'll be similar to that Buffalo game. It'll be kind of like a mid-20s game. I think we're going to win this game. I think we'll be able to put up 27, 28 points, dare I say. I think we will. I think we can, and I think we will. So I'm going to pick us to win this game here. 28-24. I think that's going to be the game. I feel like everyone's expecting it to be very low scoring. I don't anticipate it being that low scoring. I really don't. And look, and the last thing I'll say here too, I meant to say this in the last things I was saying about the Chiefs Bills game. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, thank you for making some plays. Seriously, I know Chiefs Kingdom, all of the sports networks have been really tough on you. I've been tough on you. But to see you make those big catches, especially that first one coming out of halftime, that bomb, that one-handed catch along the sideline, that was a crazy catch. We need that. We need to continue to step up because the margins for error against this Ravens team are minimal. Minimal. So the less catches drop, the better. Marquez, I'm proud of you, bro. I'm happy that you were able to make those plays because we needed them. So they were huge momentum shifters in the game. And who knows if we are able to have a drive like that and go down and get up 20-17 without that catch. So big credit to you, man. But again, like I said, mistakes are going to need to be slim to none against this Ravens team. And I think we know that. And so, given the fact that we've been able to gain some confidence back over these last two playoff games, we need it. And I think we have the right momentum going into this game against the Ravens. And so like I said, picking the Chiefs 28-24. Alrighty, guys. Thank you all for listening. It's going to be a stressful weekend. So we will see how that goes. But regardless, let's go Chiefs, man. And we'll see if the Lions win. Imagine a Chiefs-Lions Super Bowl. That'd be crazy. Everyone in America would be picking the Lions over the Chiefs just because they don't want us to win. But you know what? I'm embracing it because even if we're getting hated on, we're winning. And so that's just how I feel. That's how Chiefs Kingdom should feel. So, yeah. Anyways, I will see you all next time. Peace.